Hello everyone, I'm Ross, and I'm going to take you through how you can create a component library with Svelte that you can publish on NPM and share between your projects. Let's get started. Navigate to a new directory in your terminal and run the command npm create svelte at latest. And this is the SvelteKit CLI to scaffold a new project. There's an option in here that we can use to create a component library instead of an application. So we're going to select that here. I'm going to use TypeScript, and we'll use Svelte 5. I'm going to follow the instructions and the next steps to change the directory and install my dependencies. Now that we've created our project, we can inspect the contents. So since this is a library project, it's important to add relevant information in the package.json. So when you publish this, you'll be able to have information available to users of your package. So the first thing we're going to do is just edit this package.json. So this name field here will be whatever you want your package to be named on NPM. I'll link to a name checker you can use to check if the name's available on NPM, or you can use your NPM username starting with the @ sign and then a slash and then whatever you want your library to be called. So for example, my NPM username is just Ross Robino. So I could call this @Ross Robino, my username / components. And then that would make it so anybody could use this package by saying npm install @Ross Robino / components. And because I have that @Ross Robino in the front, that's my username namespace, and I can use any combination of words after the slash, and those will be available just to me. We're going to specify a version. So by default, it's 0.0.1. This is a good starting point. As far as the versioning for packages, the first number represents a major version, the second number represents a minor version, and then the last number represents a patch. So these are useful to tell other people what kind of changes you've made to your project. If there's a breaking change, it'll be a major version. If you've added a new feature but it doesn't break anything, you can use the minor version. And if you've fixed a bug or done something small, like update other dependencies, you can do a patch. To start out with, if a version is at under a 1 for their major version, that's assumed to be an unstable version, and any change can be breaking for a 0 major version. So it's a good place to start while you're breaking a lot of things and building things quickly. And then once you've kind of settled into the first version of your project, you can publish the 1.0.0, and then after that, whenever you break things, you need to make sure you update that major version again. Our scripts are already set up for us. This exports field will tell bundlers and TypeScript where to look for our project's files. So in this project, we're going to export 2 different entry points. The first one is going to be in our dist/index.js file, and then our types for this package will be located in dist.index.d.ts. And I'll show you where these files are located, and after we build our package, we can see how these files end up in those folders shortly. Files field tells NPM that these are the files that we want to publish in our package. For example, we don't need to publish the source for our package. We only need to publish the dist. So we're just going to include those files in the final thing that gets published. And this will save space and make sure people aren't downloading files that don't need to use our package in their projects. This peer dependencies field tells other packages and package managers what version of Svelte we need to have installed in order for this package to work. So the latest version of Svelte 5, we can look that up. And we can go in here, and because we're using Svelte 5, we're going to need to find the latest. And the latest version is 153. So let's bump that up to 153 to make sure we have all the latest changes. For the rest of our dependencies, I'm going to use a package called npm check updates, and that will update the rest of these dependencies to the latest versions. So you can see we've bumped all of those packages up to the latest. And if we look here, we can see there's no major versions, so there's likely no breaking changes, except for perhaps this publint package. But since I've already checked it, I know that all of these are okay to install. So I'm going to go ahead and install them. And then lastly, the Svelte field tells our Svelte projects where to look for those Svelte components. The types field, again, this is somewhat repetitive with this exports types field, but different bundlers look for this types field in different places, so it's good to include both. And then this type module field will specify that our package is using ES modules and not CommonJS. A few other fields we can specify here are going to be the keywords field. So these are used by NPM if we want to tell people that our library is a Svelte component library. Maybe it contains some documentation and it uses Svelte and SvelteKit. You can have a home page for your project. The license field tells other people how available your project is for them to use. So the MIT license is typically a very permissive license that basically says anybody can use this project for personal reasons, for commercial reasons. So if you want your project to be widely available, the MIT license is one of the ones that's a pretty good choice. This is what Svelte, the actual project, is licensed under. You can add some information about yourself, which will appear on NPM website. And then you can also link to the repository. If it's on GitHub, you can use this GitHub : and it will link to the correct repository. And then the last field is side effects. I'll link to the issue I've created for this side effects field. It's still in progress, so test it out with your project and make sure it's set to the correct setting to minimize your final bundle size. You may want to play around with it. I've found that if I set side effects field to false, that my bundlers have been more aggressive with the tree shaking. And if I use one component, it only includes the CSS for that component. So I'll link to that pull request I made as well, so you can see the latest status on that. Back to our project's files, if we look at the lib directory, this is going to be our main entry point for our component. So everything exported from source lib index.ts is going to be included in our final bundle. Whenever we run npm run package, which will run this package script, SvelteKit sync and Svelte package and publint, it will take everything that's exported from this lib index.ts file, and it will run some transformations on it and make it available for other people to easily use in their projects. So let's get into building a component. We can create a component called YouTube. And we're just going to make a simple YouTube component that we can reuse, and it'll create a YouTube iframe for us. So we're using TypeScript, so we're going to need to make a type for this, and we're going to need a lang equals ts on here. So we created a YouTube component. It will render an iframe, and all we have to do is pass in the YouTube videos ID and also a title for our iframe now. So we want to reuse this in other projects, not just this one. So we can import and then re-export the component in our source lib index.ts file. So we're going to import YouTube from youtube.svelte, and we'll export it again as YouTube from here. So we can test our component out. So we can go into our pluspage.svelte file, and if you're familiar with creating a SvelteKit application, we can go ahead and import our component here, and then we'll use our component, and we need to provide a UID, which we're going to set to this, and a title, which will play a song for us here. So let's test it out. We'll run npm run dev, and we'll navigate to localhost 5173 to see this in action. And you can see we've got our YouTube video loaded up here. So now we want to package this component and make it available on npm for other people to use. So we've already set our version in package.json. We've already installed our packages. So we're going to run the npm run package script to execute those commands we saw earlier. So let's do that now. So this is running SvelteKit sync, svelte package, and publint. And you can see it's created a dist folder with the contents of our package. And there's a few different files here we can use. So there's our index.d.ts, which provides types for our index.js file. And this is so the users of our library can import all of our components from the same entry point, just at @rossrobino/components in this project's case. So we can import YouTube, we could add lots of other components in here and export them all from the same file. Next, we have our youtube.svelte, and you'll notice that our TypeScript has been stripped out of here, so we no longer have that type on our props, and this is because that type exists here instead. And there's a lot in here, which is basically saying that this .svelte file is a Svelte component, and it gives all the types for it, and you can see our props are located here. There's our UID and our title. So when other people use our package, they can take advantage of TypeScript on those props that they have. So now that we've verified that this is all set up, you can see that these files map back to these exports fields. So our types are coming from dist index.d.ts, which is here. And then our Svelte files are all exported from our main entry point here. So that's where we see those package.json fields. And we can also see how our files field, we're just going to include files from disk. We don't need to include other node modules, anything from source. We just want the final package published. So finally, if you want to publish this package, you'll need to log into npm and run npm publish access public, and you can publish this package directly on npm, and that will publish it and make it available for other people to install. And then you can test it in a separate project if you'd like to. So there's the basics on how to create a component library with Svelte. Let me know if you like this video. Leave a comment if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.